Yo, yo.
Yo.
Welcome back to the Mark Our Words podcast, the official podcast of YouTube. What's good with you, Chen?
Man, life is beautiful, man. Life is good, man.
What's beautiful about life?
Man, I got a new phone case.
Okay, thank you. Listen here, grateful for little things. You got a new phone case? You ain't get the new phone, the new iPhone titanium?
You can't. It won't slide. Okay. So, like, if you ever just tap it, it's not going to fall off the table.
You're not
like a brand new phone.
You're not going to get the new iPhone titanium?
What's that?
I think it's iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Too expensive. Too expensive.
They have payment plans, you know.
Too much debt. Nah,
man.
How about you, man? How you doing?
Everything is good. Everything is fun. Everything is like I said, I'm newly married. So that's basically what's been going on. What I actually been doing these past couple days, I know this is probably a week later or a week and a half later. I've been checking in on the Kai Cenat stream.
Oh yeah, how's that been?
When he did the 7 days in prison. And I seen the outrage or the fake outrage of how people said that he is glorifying prison to the young kids. And because of the stream and they see him having fun in there, they gonna want to go to prison and think it's a fun place to be.
No, they're not.
Listen here, I talked to my little nephew.
Nobody wants to go to prison.
I asked him, do you want to go to prison? He said no. I said, why? He said, because it's bad. I'm like, I don't understand. Who are these people that you think is going to be influenced for Kai to go to jail? Remember, to go to jail, you have to be a criminal. Okay.
The whole time.
So, like, unless Kai is out here telling you to commit crimes, which he haven't done, there's no reason why a spoof of a TV show that he be able to pull it off. We should actually give him respect for actually being able to pull it off. Something as major as this, that he streamed for 7 days. Even some people in the comments saying that, cause some people that had a problem with it, Twitter or X is what it's called. They started pulling up their receipts of them being in skits as if they are in jail.
Oh, and really?
Stuff like they was like, oh, you got something to say, but here's a skit of you with Desi Banks in jail, and the guy said, that's different. That's a skit. And somebody said, well, this is a 7-day skit, basically.
Nah, it was weird, but hey, man.
Listen here, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you. A lot of us wouldn't even be able to survive Kai fake prison, because the guys that he had come in, the guests and stuff like Drewski and things like that, they was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go because he had he had it operated as if it was a real prison. To where it's locked down, you eat this, you don't have your phone. He was like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I can't do that for 7 days.
The funny thing about it, Kai woke up every morning and he was like, why am I doing this? Like, he had he just had that moment of where he just like, why am I doing this? Because I think it just gets hard. Like, you on day 2 and you like, I'm 5 days out and you ain't got your phone. You're in there, you're not really doing anything. You only can be around your people for so long before, you just get bored. And then on top of that, he's from the cell phone era. One thing he kept saying is, I just can't wait to have my phone. I can't wait to have my phone. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, but I'm sure this is going to transition us into a conversation that we had privately a little over 2 weeks ago about prisons in general. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, talk us through it, Chen.
Do you think we should abolish prisons?
No.
Why not?
Because where will the criminals go? The criminals need a place to go.
We're going to have a new word.
What?
Reformation camps. We reform them.
Okay, if we're going to have reformation camps, can they look like prisons?
No. They're going to be like classrooms. They're going to be like schools.
There's schools in prison.
Yeah, but it's going to look like schools. They're going to be free to walk around.
They're going to be like a campus.
Yeah. It's gonna be like a school campus.
Is it gonna be away?
Like a dorm? Yeah, maybe.
Like away, like kind of like how Rikers Island and stuff like that, where it's like it's away from.
Yeah, it's gonna be like an island, so you can't really. If you want to escape, you could escape, but when we find you, we're gonna bring you back.
Escape, but
we're not gonna shoot you if you try to escape.
But if you escape, you have to swim.
Yeah, you're gonna have to swim.
You have to swim for a while.
Yeah, you're gonna have to swim for a while. But you know, maybe you make a phone call.
And have a speedboat outside.
You still got that boat? Your uncle still got that boat?
Hey, Diddy, you still got that boat? And Diddy's pulled up in a car and left on the boat.
Someone said that man played GTA in real life.
No, the same way as I feel about abolishing police is the same way I feel about abolishing prison. Unless somebody give me a better idea, I'm not abolishing anything.
Man, let's say there was a better idea.
Like,
I don't know. Let's say there was.
Okay.
Like, okay, let's say there's not. Would you work towards the goal of abolishing prisons?
No. As in talking about as someone on the outside being honest, no.
So you think prisons it should always be around to the end of time?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can't imagine a world without prison. Because it serves as a consequence, as a punishment to whatever crime you broke. Maybe I can meet you in the middle. Maybe I can meet you here for non-serious crimes. We can put you in a university. We can put you in a reformation camp.
What's a non-serious crime?
Child support.
Okay.
Child support compared to murder.
Okay. Let's
say, like, maybe we can put you somewhere to where the crimes is not as violent or things like that. I will hope you change the name from reformation. It's kind of hard for me to say that word. But I think I meet you in the middle there. But even then, I'm like, I can't imagine a world without a big house. It's just how my world always been.
Okay, that's fair. I think so let's say, okay.
Walk me through it.
Let's say.
And your jacket is very loud.
I know. I don't know. Should I take off?
it's like a sweat jacket. So
was it like that last episode?
I don't think you wore that jacket. I think it's the hair. It probably was the hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's say, for example, a hair run. Not a hair run. Let's say you accidentally hit somebody. Should you go to jail?
I accidentally hit somebody, as in like I hit them with my car. I hit the person with the car. Or
yeah,
like
but it wasn't malicious. Wasn't really neglect. It wasn't like on your phone. You just you saw the person. It's manslaughter.
It's manslaughter.
Yeah.
Should you go to jail? Yes. People have gone to jail for that. Yes.
But you should.
Yes.
Okay. In this world where you meet me halfway.
In this world, not the real world. In the world that I meet you halfway.
Yeah.
And they died.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go to jail.
Even though it wasn't their fault. What they going?
Stop.
All right. What about?
But there's the justice system meet people in a way they take into account of how not only what happened but how it happened and things of that nature. I don't know if you remember, but I think, oh my goodness, I hope I'm not wrong on this. Hold on, let me look it up real quick, because I don't want to.
You talking about Brandy?
No.
Sounds of Brandy.
I don't want to.
The Boy's Mine. That was such a good song. No, it wasn't. I actually didn't like the song.
Really?
I like the song where she has all the woman rappers from back in the day. I'd rather be from a new joint. That's my joint. And the one with Daniel Caesar. I
like how you are actually trying to.
I thought you was going to talk about Brandy when she killed that person and went to jail.
I wasn't going to talk about Brandy.
Well, she did manslaughter and went to jail.
Oh, I'm so happy I didn't say this person's name, but there was a wide receiver. Who manslaughtered somebody, and of course by accident, and they only went to jail for like a year and a half, like almost close to 2 years, compared to let's say like murder and things like that. So I think the justice system does do a part in taking into account, like, okay, this is your first charge. It was a mistake. They usually have people write letters during the sentencing and things like that for some type of leniency or something like that. I think they already do that. To remove them from the jail itself or the system itself, I don't think that's fair.
In your opinion, what do you think? What do you think a jail is for, or what do you think the prison is for?
A place of punishment for breaking a crime.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For breaking a law, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. I mean, for breaking a law, committing a crime.
Okay. And what should be a crime? Like, what's?
I mean, we have things that we have committed. That we have written down as a society as what is a crime. Like, there are misdemeanors and there's felonies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there's different levels that the scale come in. Like, jaywalking is not punishable by prison. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? But
Missing child support is.
Missing child support is. Even though it's like, wow, that's kind of crazy. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in a way to where if you miss one child support, they just automatically come get you and then you in prison. Theft. Like there's different misdemeanors. Even something as simple as just stealing. Something is stealing. If I steal $100 from you or $200 from you, that's a misdemeanor. But if I steal something that is over $1,000 and things like that, that turns into a felony. So even though we have these things listed already, there's different levels and that it scales from up and down. So I think it all falls under that some type of punishment. Even though prison may not be the punishment, a fine may be a punishment. Probation may be a punishment. House arrest may be a punishment. Things like the community service may be a punishment, for whatever it fits that crime to that law, I guess.
And you believe that's the best way to live in a society that punishes you for things that you done?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that? Well,
because I see. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason why I think so, because I see success stories of people, even people that I don't know personally,
mm-hmm.
of going to prison and they change their life around.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something to being taken out of society. There's something about, even though as crazy as it may sound, your freedom be taken away, your everyday freedom, and being forced to sit down and being forced to basically an adult version for criminals of time out. And they always view, I guess the way they view it is me coming and being able to do whatever I want is a privilege. And we can revoke that privilege if you break these laws. And I don't think there's another way that it can be taken seriously besides that extreme of jail and prisons. I think it has to be that extreme so people can be like, I don't never want to do that. Or the people who's in that system can be like, I never want to go back. Now, everything that comes after that, I'm not really a fan of how if they serve their time, that kind of serves as a it's hard for them to get jobs. So jobs is jobs that they would have got if they wasn't ex-convicts and things like that, mm-hmm. convicted of their crime. That's what I'm not a fan of. That's not what I'm a fan of. I'm not a fan of okay, once they serve their time, we actually have to put the trust in our prison system that they are reformed and changed and that they won't be this person that they were that caused them to come in here in the first place. So to implement them back into society, I feel like we can do that better than what we're currently doing. Things got better now. Like, like there's people that can work. But I'm sure like 10 to 20, 30 years ago, they probably couldn't work at all, dependent. So, but now, like, there's actually jobs that look for, like, hey, I'm specifically looking for convicts, ex-convicts and things like that to try to implement them back into society.
So you think that prison should be used to implement them back into society? Like, you should go to prison and be ready to go back into society?
No, I think prison should be used as a form of punishment of being taken away from society.
Okay.
But because you are taken away and having the freedom because you was once in society, mm-hmm. you gonna miss society. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have no life sentence, like this is not a forever thing. Because I think prison is so severe when it comes to the punishment, I think just by that alone, they would appreciate the privilege of society that they had before. I don't think it's their job or it's their duty to be like, okay, come to prison to be reformed. I think it's their job to be like, come to prison because you broke a law. It's a punishment. But because the punishment is so severe, they will make the change on their own. It's just us on the outside helping them implement that change once they're on the outside.
Okay.
It's kind of like a beating. Like,
but you don't believe in beating your kids, so.
I hope I don't. But I definitely got beat as a kid. There's definitely things I got a whooping for. And some whoopings that I remember, and to not do that no more because I ain't want to get a beating for that.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes, depending, yeah.
I feel like if it's really bad, they never work. All the kids I know that got beat really badly, they angry.
Yeah.
I mean, now they're adults and they just angry.
But you know, whooping or punishment in a sense is not a perfect. It's not a perfect antidote. For some, it's going to work. For some, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that today in today's society that prison does work as a punishment. I don't believe that that's what it was designed for. I mean, if we go back into the history of time, when if people did something that was wrong, they either got stoned, executed, or put into slavery. So it was like there was no such thing as like, we're gonna hold you here for a little bit. I think the Greeks or the Romans were the first people to institute prisons, and it was designed to kind of reform them, give them time to like really think about their actions, kind of like what prison is supposed to be now. Really think about their actions, really, process what they did, and kind of like reform them into a better person. But then, new leadership came into it. People's like, that seemed like a lot of work. How about we torture them? And so prisons, and especially in the medieval times, became like a torture type of system where you go into a dungeon, we keep you there, maybe starve you, maybe actually do real torture, and so forth. And then humans start to evolve a little bit more and more. Slavery was still a thing, but like if you wanted to hold somebody, you go into prisons. And then as time went, prisons became like a local thing, like to keep this person away from the rest of the villagers or the rest of the small town. You put them into a little prison, and the sheriff would hold them. And then they would get transported to like, the major cities and whatnot. Then, cities develop. Then we need like prisons to hold a bunch of people in the city. So we build these big old prisons for these to institute these or to put these people into, these cages.
Okay.
I don't know why I say cages, but then it became an industry.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like a big business. What they call it, the prison industrial complex. And so now, you have these big corporations that kind of hold a bunch of prisons, and they make money off of these prisons.
Was that your phone?
No.
Oh.
My phone right here.
Oh, okay.
But they make money off of these prisoners. And so now it's a question of one, we have one of the biggest prison systems in the world.
Yeah.
Bigger than any other Western country, probably bigger than most, non-Western countries. Most of the people that are in prison are black people.
Yep.
And males. And then a lot of times, even though we have the success stories, a lot of the people that come out of prison aren't that successful. Either they get back into prison or they have a hard time integrating into society.
What do you qualify as a success story?
What do you mean?
What do you qualify as a success story? As in, like,
somebody who's happy in society.
I think how they quantify.
Sorry, someone who could function in society.
I was gonna say, we may need help with that, but I think they view a success story of if this person gonna commit a crime again. Even though there are people that do go back to prison and things like that, I wonder what's the word? what is the group of people when it comes to petty crimes compared to like big crimes and things like that, to who go back to prison. I will argue that some people, maybe a good number of people who go to prison actually don't go back and things like that. Even though society has made it easier for them to go back by putting them on parole. You miss a parole meeting, then all of a sudden you got to go back to your sentence. But I actually know more people personally who been out of prison who haven't been back compared to the story that we always hear of. If you go in the system, you will always be in the system, you'll go back to prison. So that's all that I would say to that.
So you saying there? So are you saying that more people?
I'm saying it's not
escape the prison system?
I'm saying it's not as absolute as if you go to prison, that it's just a pipeline for you. Like once you get out, it's just a pipeline for you just to go straight back.
But we could agree that it's a lot easier to go back.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, even if it's not a straight pipeline, I mean, if it's easier to go back, you as a person who came out of prison versus a regular person, it's a lot easier for you to end up back in prison.
Yeah.
So I mean, in today's society, I mean, these prisons have now become a one, the business, and two, the business of keeping people away from society. So that's my biggest thing. Like these prisons have moved away from helping people into making money off of people.
So you think because they take you away from society that it doesn't help them? And when I say take it away, I mean as in like their senses actually being away, taken out of society. Do you think some people would say prison today reforms more people than prisons of yesteryear?
I don't know about that.
Of 20 years ago.
Really?
Or 40 years ago.
Really?
So you would say that prisons 40 years ago, maybe even 60 years ago, is the same prisons that we have today when it comes to reforming.
No, it's not the same.
When it comes to reforming people. So you think it's the same level?
No, I think it's worse.
I think it's better.
How's it better?
I would say, like, I never heard of, more. I would say it's better just off the strength of because there's more resources and things like that. And
are there?
It has to be. Like, in prison, like, they have iPads in prison now compared to what they had, like, 60 years ago.
Do they?
iPad. There's people that got emails, like an email account and things of that nature, like emails. They have.
You probably probably talking about the feds with those white collar crimes.
I'm talking about prison. I'm talking about like there's people that actually like have a cell phone, have an Instagram page, that have like they be in there playing Madden. Like there's people that's in prison right now with more resources to where they making it to where it's not just a place where you just go and you just sit down and just punch. They're trying to give some type of leisure in prison now. So that's why I'm like, it's impossible for you to say, in my opinion, that prison of 60 years ago is the same, if not worse today than 60 years ago.
The years. 60 years ago is in the 1960s.
40 years ago.
Yeah. That was 1980s. Yeah,
okay.
It's definitely way better.
Okay. 1990s to now.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
Okay, 2000s to now.
It's getting worse.
Where? So you say from the 2000s, you think that's where it started taking a downshift?
Yeah.
How so? What is your evidence on that?
Well, it's not evidence, but you have to also understand the crime bill. The crime bill was very influential.
You talk about the Bill Clinton joint.
The bill, was it Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton?
Well,
somebody.
It was the Clintons.
Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it was the Clintons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That crime bill made the prisons explode into what it is now, where people are going to jail for almost everything. Mm-hmm. And so you have that, and then you also have business. The prison becoming there's less prisons being controlled by the state and the federal, and it's being controlled by private companies. Mm-hmm. So they're not looking into like, oh, how can we reform it? They're looking into how can we meet our profits. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing, right? And so you have these two things where you have the crime bill, which put a lot of people in prison that didn't need to be in prison.
Facts.
Or could have been, dealt with in a different way. And then you have private companies who aren't looking at these people like, hey, we're trying to reform these people, or we're trying to bring them back into society. You have them looking at this like, the more bodies we have in here, the longer they stay here, the more money we make. So of course, like I don't even know like why you think there's more research. I mean, you saying that they have better technology, but why would that be more resources? Because they could play Madden. Because now PlayStations are a thing, but 40 years ago they was playing prison football with other prisoners.
Okay. because
I was playing basketball and baseball.
Because all they had was outside. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. But just because they have better resources or newer technology doesn't mean that
but
they
you
ain't
basically
have
saying prisons is worse today than it was in 2000. I was like, how is that possible? When usually every year things get better. So you saying, but with everything in society getting better, prisons is the only entity or one of the entities the way it actually decreased the longer it is, to where it's like from 2000 to 2023, it's worse in 2023 than it was in 2000.
Yes, people going to the hole for. I don't even know if they had what's it called, something refinement, solitary refinement.
They had that back in the day.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you go in there for regular people.
What do you mean? You go in there for what? For what? The crazies?
Yeah, if you like the wild person killing people, yeah, you go in there. But you just like curse ass CEO.
I don't think it's that simple. But like I feel.
I don't know from my from personal experience, but these are conversations that people. These are stories that people said. Like
yeah. I mean, put it like this: you have an entity to where you have people in power. Mm-hmm. Guards is in power. You know what I'm saying? CEOs are in power. The warrant is in power. If they feel like they want to throw you in that, fine. Does that make it right? It doesn't make it right. But you have people, corrupted people with absolute power inside these things, running these entities. Of course, you're going to see some deficiencies in how they run their prisons, especially since it's a private corporation. You get what I'm saying? So there's nothing that will govern what they can or can't do that much. Do you get what I'm saying? So in my opinion, what would you do to basically redo the declining that prison's been going on from the time that you feel like it's been declining?
I think the first thing is to give it back to the control of the people.
What do you mean give it back to control of the people?
So it should be state run and not privately run. That's number one. Number two, I think we need to do more research as to the criminal system and why people commit crimes. I don't know if we even care why people commit crimes.
Does it matter to you?
Well, okay. Do you feel like we fail a person if they commit a crime?
No.
Does society fail them?
No.
And so if you're a young kid who lost both their parents,
I lost mine too.
Go into the group home.
I didn't do that.
Go into a group home, gets hardened by the group home, gets molested, abused as a young kid. Now has no way to vent about these situations.
No ways?
Well, how would they vent?
What do you mean?
There's no therapy. You can't afford therapy.
I know you can't afford therapy, but
there's no counselor.
He's in a group home.
What do you mean?
There's therapists and counselors in the group home.
Have you met these therapists and counselors in a group home?
I know someone works in a group home. There's therapists and counselors in a group home. Now,
is this all group home? Is this all group home?
I don't know. I don't get to speak for one, but all I'm saying is...
so let's say that, we could say that there's therapy.
But these things are run by people. I think what's the problem is more than anything, I'm straight. Go let you finish your scenario. Go ahead.
So there's no therapists or counselors in these group homes. The man has no way to vent. He's angry. The people that show him love are the people that are doing crimes and criminal activities.
Of course.
And so he gets involved with that. Still angry. Still upset. He kills somebody. He kills more than somebody. He kills 2, 3, 4 people. You don't think society failed this guy?
No.
Okay, so what happened?
Because my thing is, what about the other people that have the same story but don't do what you do?
There's one story that
help me.
Okay, question.
Help me.
Do you think slavery is a choice?
No.
What about the person that escaped and ran into freedom to the north or ran to Canada?
Is that a choice?
He made that choice and he did it.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Is that a choice? That is a choice. But
I'm saying, you saying that slavery is not a choice.
I'm saying slavery is not a choice.
But there's people that escaped slavery.
Yeah.
And went into freedom. So why didn't everybody else do it?
Everybody didn't want to deal with the consequences of potentially getting caught.
What do you mean?
It's a risk. It's a high risk for high reward. Something as simple as, you know, the stories about Harriet Tubman. Something as simple as she have people who may decide, hey, yes, I want to go with you, and then they get to a point to where they don't want to go no more because they scared. So she be like, listen, you can't be the reason why we get caught. So I think like fear plays a big part in people's freedom and things like that, and people's choice to go after freedom. I think a lot of time, in that time, I'm just guessing, I don't know, that hey, they probably didn't want to get caught. They probably didn't know how to operate as a free person. They probably just figured that like, hey, if I just behave good, hopefully I won't get, you know, punished or whatever.
So is slavery a choice? Because you said that people decided to go with Harriet Tubman and then decided not to go.
Well, no, slavery is not a choice, though. Even with that, slavery is not a choice because it was something implemented by a law that made it legal and things like that to have slaves and things like that. Like people who were enslaved didn't want to be enslaved. You get what I'm saying? So I will never say slavery is a choice.
Okay, so the person that went through that situation, it wasn't his choice.
It wasn't his choice to go through it, but it was his choice to kill. That's different.
Is it his choice if he's angry? Like, what do you mean is his choice to kill? Because like, if your situation is a combination, accumulation of all the situations that happened to you,
I understand that.
Like, how is it his choice to kill? Like, I never held a gun.
Me neither. Well, I have, but go ahead.
I never held a gun. I never pointed. Nobody ever told me, hey, you gotta kill this person.
Okay.
Nobody that I love never told me as a 14, 15, 16-year-old person. Nobody ever said like, hey, this is how we do it in the streets. Like, nobody. I never been in that situation. I
understand all of that.
So as a 14, 15, 16-year-old who's been molested, who's been in a group home, who has no guidance, who grew up with these killers and robbers, and this is all he knows. You saying that's still a choice?
I'm saying
because there's a few people that were able to.
Few.
What do you mean?
Let's not flip the numbers now. Many times than not, there's a lot of people, and it is most people who come from that thing. All of them don't become criminals. Most of them don't become criminals. So I wouldn't even say that if you have that scenario to where like you grew up in a group home or like you've been through all these things and trials of life that you are automatically going to become a criminal. That's not true. That's why a lot of times people won't have sympathy for those type of people, even though we should have some type of sympathy. But most people don't have sympathy for those people because people be like, listen here, you had a neighbor who grew up just like you, and they not a criminal. They ain't kill nobody. They ain't do anything. So why you made the choice to take out your anger because society didn't treat you right, or society didn't give you a fair hand in life to do these crimes? Society don't give everybody don't have the same hand to play, in my opinion.
So do you think everybody could be a millionaire?
Can everybody be a millionaire? It's out there, yes. Everybody can be a millionaire.
Can everybody be a billionaire?
Can everybody be a millionaire? I don't think that's possible.
But there's people that done it. So what's stopping everybody else from doing it?
Because I believe that becoming a billionaire is abnormal than the norm. Killing someone is abnormal than the norm. So to actually go and use it as a measuring unit is crazy to me. That's just how I feel.
So you're saying because it's not normal?
Because it's not normal, we have to punish the abnormal. It's like, okay, you need to be taken away from society. Because guess what? We redlined this whole part. And whole time, you the one over here killing folks. Everybody over here not killing folks. You killing folks. So it's just easier to take you out and pluck you out and put you in prison. Even though, to your point, society has stacked the deck against certain groups of people. You get what I'm saying? But because the deck is stacked against a group of people, to make it equal blame, I don't think that's fair.
What do you mean? Equal blame?
Meaning like, should we basically take the blame off the one that commit the crime and basically equal it out to society? Did like society failed them to make it equal? I don't think that's fair to put it 50-50 in that way.
I don't know. I think it is. I mean, if you have a kid that grew up in that situation, the school system is not great for that kid. There's no medical help for that kid. There's nobody that's guiding that kid. There's no parental,
100%.
That's what a parent's supposed to do, is to make sure this kid is a functional human being in society. So you have all these systems that are supposed to be in place to be like, hey, this is how society runs. But then the people that normalize killing and thievery and murder, that's normal to him. That's what he believes is normal. And then say like, hey, you should do better. You should have learned. Like you saying it's abnormal for society, but for him, it's very normal. And then you saying like you should break the mold in this normal situation that you're in, and not kill. Like there's certain people that live in those situations. Is that most? I don't even know that's most. I can't even say that's most. Somebody that was molested, somebody that grew up in a group home, somebody that is a terrible.
I understand, like, we as people want to take these extreme cases and want to make it.
It's not extreme.
But it is extreme because those are not the only ones that commit crimes. You have the FTX founder, whatever it is, going to prison for fraud.
Yeah, but he didn't kill nobody.
I understand he didn't kill nobody, but guess what? He's still going to the same prison.
No, he's not.
You don't think so?
He's not going to a Fed. He's not going to the state prison.
He stole over.
Murder is a state crime. That's why a state prison is 10 times worse than a federal prison. He's going to go deal with other millionaires.
So you basically want all the prisons to be like federal prisons, to where they basically can be free to roam around and be safe and things like that.
I'm saying that if society, because you don't think society is to blame for this. I think society plays a big role. If you don't give a kid the resources that they need to be a productive human being in our society,
I have all the resources, but go ahead.
If you don't give a kid the necessary resources to be a productive human being, then we have to, as a society, make sure that. Well, I don't even know that we have to make sure, because at that time it's too late. There's nothing we could do about it. But there should be a system in play to make sure that they are even given a chance to redeem themselves. But a lot of times we don't redeem those people.
But what about the ones that did make it out? There's
always going to be people that do make it out.
But majority of them make it out compared to the others.
How can you say a majority of them make it out?
Because I think of even the city schools that I went to and things of that nature. The whole school wasn't bad. Like, you knew who the bad kids were. You knew who the kids probably wasn't going to make it. You probably knew who the kids probably wasn't going to get killed. You probably who the kids were that probably was into gang activity. You know who the kids that's probably going to end up on drugs.
And this is middle school?
This is, I would say, for me, 9th grade. Okay. I say 9th grade based on the location of where I went to school in West Baltimore. Okay. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't majority of the school.
Okay. But you don't know if all those situations are different. And a lot of people have parents at home that love them. A lot of people that go to church. A lot of people are in different programs. A lot of people have sports that they have a coach that is inspiring them. A lot of people have a counselor that they're talking to. But you don't know what those few people in those situations are dealing with.
Yes.
And so to say that those people in those situations that are dealing with that, most of them are going to make it.
No,
you can't say that.
That's not what I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
That's not what I said. I said, those people in school. That does not outnumber the whole general population of the school of who going to make.
We're not talking about the whole population of the school. We're talking about somebody who's dealing with serious situations.
I understand that, but I'm saying everybody who went to this school, this wasn't a great school to where if you came from a great situation, you wasn't going to this school.
But we're not saying great situation. You went to that school and you didn't come from. But you didn't you didn't have a terrible life.
I moved from that school because once I realized what that school was, I was like, because it was it was marketed as the Baltimore School for the Arts for rejects and stuff like that. But basically, in that area and stuff like that, I wasn't like those kids that I basically was going to school with and things like that. I'm not saying I was privileged, but I wasn't in that situation, and a lot of them, even some of the ones that I may have even said that, they're probably going to die and things like that, they turn their life around.
Oh, what do you mean a lot of them?
A lot of them. As in, I don't think it's the majority of the people who are in those situations that may have come from parentless homes and may have come from abusive homes and things like that. I don't think majority of them automatically just goes and be like, you know what, I'm going to become a criminal and just do these things in this society.
I agree with you.
I think majority of people have the deck stacked against them. Yes, I agree with that. But it's all based on how you play your
I don't know if majority of people got the deck stacked against them.
I'm talking about those people.
But I'm saying, yeah, the majority of the people who get abused, they're not going to be a murderer. The majority of people that come from parentless homes, they're not going to be a murderer.
I hope so.
The majority of people that go to a terrible school, they're not going to be a murderer. The majority of people who get into gang violence, even them are not going to be murderers.
That's what I'm saying.
The majority of people who sell drugs are not going to be murderers. The majority of people who grew up around crime, where they, their uncle, their nephew, their whoever are killing people, they're not gonna be murdered.
Okay.
When you add all those things together, the chances of you being murdered is very high, and that's what I'm saying. And
how can you quantify it like that though? But
what do you mean?
Ahead. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, if you grew up around crime, would you be more like?
I grew up around crime in Jersey City, and it never crossed my mind.
You was 4 or 5 years old.
I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and usually at that time, that's usually the time when you get introduced to it. You probably may not know that, but I'm saying
no. You doing crime at 8 and 9 years old?
Right, come on, son. Like even when I went to Chicopee Middle School, and things like that, I wasn't in the best community. I lived right off the Alameda.
But Alameda is not.
The Alameda wasn't the best place.
It wasn't the worst place.
I'm not saying that it was freaking West Baltimore or Greenmount and things like that.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's many times that I had to run away from danger and things like that. But my whole point is because of that and things of that nature. Now, granted, I will say I did have both my parents, and I did come from a Christian background.
And you went to church every day.
Oh yeah, so I did have a moral compass. You get what I'm saying?
Both your sisters and brothers were doing pretty well.
My sister was with me. She wasn't doing that well.
But I'm saying like they not wild.
I understand the privilege, even with the situation that I was in, and everybody don't have that. But I'm saying I know people, friends that I had during that time that had less than me, and had less than quote unquote less than the privilege that I had, even though we was all in the same boat. When it comes to you saying like, how can they? I'm just gonna paraphrase. So basically, like they are probably more going to commit murder than the other. I think like I don't see how you quantify that because they are around crime. We was all around crime, but that didn't make us want to be murderers. Even the ones that was less than me and things like that. I'm just saying.
Okay. I think you're missing the point because you only taking one aspect.
Okay.
Of the factor that, like, yeah, if you're around crime, like I said, most of them are not gonna be murdered.
Yeah.
But you're around crime. You've been abused. You're angry. You don't have no way to vent this out.
Mm-hmm.
You want you. And as a kid, you don't even know. Sometimes a lot of these kids don't even know why they're angry. They just know they're angry.
Facts.
And so eventually, yes, there's gonna be people that work against that. Who knows? They become a job. They deal with the anger. They never commit a crime.
Mm-hmm.
But there's gonna be people. If I was never acceptable to somebody saying, "Hey, this is how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you should go ahead and kill this person." Like I was never acceptable to that. Like even if I live around there, the way my mother loved me, the way I went to church, the way that would never be. Even as a 15, 16-year-old boy. But if you angry, and I don't think a lot of people deal with that type of anger. But if you angry, there was you remember Snowfall?
Yeah.
You remember season 1?
Mm-hmm.
When there was some guy that stole keys from what's his name?
Who, Franklin?
Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guy that stole keys from Franklin, and Franklin wanted to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called some other guy.
The dark skinned guy.
Yeah, dark.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to the guy's house to get the keys back. The guy wasn't giving up, and then the dark skinned guy went inside, took his belt off,
closed the door, and
he did his thing.
Yeah.
That changed that guy's whole demeanor.
Okay.
Changed his whole demeanor. I think as a man, and this, I've never been abused, so I can't really speak too much about it. But I think as a man, that situation alone makes you angry. Mm-hmm. The fact that you had nobody to deal, you had no family member to like put you on their wing. That anger could get under control.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a group home, especially how a lot of these group homes are run, a lot of things happen. You might you might get involved with wrong people.
Exactly.
That might affect you. You then get into I'm saying this over again, but I'm trying to paint the picture. You might get into the wrong crowd. The wrong crowd, the way they deal with anger is to commit crimes, is to do murders, is to do these. That might affect you. By the time you turn 13, 14, 15, you're already an impressionable person. You really don't really understand what life is. The fact that you got to that point and there was nothing in society, because I think at 0 to 18, Society should be doing their best to make sure this person is able. If they don't have a kid, if they don't have,
what does that look like to you?
Every kid who doesn't have parents should have a counselor, should have a therapist involved. The education system should be way better to the point where you are able to read and write and do basic jobs by the time you graduate from college. I mean, from high school. That if you are in a group home, there should be systems in place where people are not being abused by the people that are watching them, or there should be systems in place where kids are safe, where they're not getting beat up or.
Now like this was the intent of these group homes and things of that nature.
Oh yeah.
The education system. The intent is to teach people how to read and write and things like that. The intent is that when they put counselors in the school and guidance counselors in the school and things like that, they have guidance counselors in elementary school now these days, from what I heard.
Yeah.
Is it more that it's not there, or is it the quality of the resource, or is it just the resources ain't being implemented? Because there's a difference of me, in my opinion, of saying it's not there compared to the quality of the resource. Dude, you kind of get what I'm saying?
Well, what's the difference? The quality is terrible. What's the difference between it being there and it just being bad?
I think of it like a zone school, right?
Okay.
A zone school most likely is probably going to be, especially my high school zone school, which probably going to be pretty bad compared to the school that I end up going to. But you need a school for the people in the community to go to. So would you rather no school be there than for that school just to be known as a bad school, to where potentially the teachers are still qualified to teach? They still can learn how to read and write, but you go get some you should go get some delinquents because it's in that zone. Mm-hmm. So would you rather, because it's quote unquote known as a bad school, would you rather just remove the school altogether and not give them a chance at all for all the other kids that live in that zone because it's a bad resource, or would you want to make it a better resource? I guess that's how I was kind of making that question. Does it make better sense now?
Yeah, of course. You want to make it a better resource.
But to say that like it's not there, it's still there.
No, I said it wasn't there.
With the intent to teach, read, guidance counselors, guide. You get what I'm saying? Like, I probably would say it's probably, quote unquote, people would probably feel more in tune to help these kids because they know it's a delinquent type of school. To where the guidance counselor would probably seek out some of these kids. I remember when I went to my high school in ninth and 10th grade and stuff like that in that community, the guidance counselor was making it his goal. I forgot his name, but I see his face. He was making his goal to try to reach out to like the kids because he knew the type of school that he was working in. So he was purposely going to talk to these kids and things like that, just off the strength of like, yo, like we in a bad community. I know y'all into these type of things. Bloods. I think our gang in our school was like Bloods and things like that. So like I will argue or debate that the resources are there, but maybe the quality of it is not up to par and things like that. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
But how do you fix that though? Like, do you have to retrain and basically you have to reposition to say like, okay, we need to have group homes and things like that, and we need to hire people and have people there that doesn't take advantage of these kids. That's the intent of hiring people in these group homes in the first place. So,
what do you mean?
Like when you go for an interview at a group home and they ask you, are you going to take advantage of a kid? No, the intent when you hire people to work in a group home is that you look after the kids and that you take care of the kids. It's not to abuse the kids. Mm-hmm. So these things are meant to basically help the kids, but it's just not doing it. All of them is not doing it. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? I'm saying like, how do you fix it? Like you basically saying have group homes to basically help the kids. But I'm like, they already have that.
No, I'm not saying have group homes to help the kids.
Or to look after the help.
But the group homes should be taking care of the kids.
But should is different than what people are actually doing. Like,
yeah.
So I'm like, how do you fix people? Because people run the group homes.
Yeah, but you have workplaces where nobody's getting abused. You have schools where nobody's getting abused because there's systems in place. in those schools and even in a workplace. Like if you go to a workplace, there's certain workplaces where people are getting abused.
Okay.
And then there's certain workplaces where people are not getting abused. What's the difference? Because one place has an actual system, the other place they like,
it's freelancing.
We not really concerned about that. Hey, you know how to do this? You know how to do this? Cool, come in. Don't even look into it. When people bring in situations to them, nobody's going after it. They're like, oh, like for example, if there's a group, like I don't know if there's a real situation, so I'm just making this up. If somebody's running a group home and their first priority is making money, and a kid comes in and says, "Hey, I've been abused," they're more likely to hush it down and say, "Hey, if you start talking about abuse, there's going to be an investigation. They're going to see that we're not all up to par. Then we're not all up to par. Then they're going to shut this down, and I won't be able to make some bread off of this."
Yeah, I'm not hip to that type. I'm hip to if they get abused, a write up is written, and then they basically get that person out. I'm not hip to that type of hush money type of thing.
What do you mean?
To where, like, you know how the scenario you gave? I know a scenario the same way, and they got written up and they got that person out. So that's why I'm like, I'm not hip to.
Do you know what group home?
The name of it?
Oh yeah. Or do you know like what type of group home was it? Like
it's
in Baltimore? Was it in New York?
No, it's in Baltimore. It's like out in Catonsville. So like I'm not hip to the whole business of if something happens, like, hey, just keep a hush so I keep making money. I never heard of that, so I'm not hip. I'm not hip to that.
All right. Well, I mean, for the stories I read, I don't know if it, this seems like a situation that would happen. I don't know. I'm not hip to it either, but it does seem like a situation that would happen. And so for me, what I think there needs to be systems in place. I don't know what those systems look like. There has to be some research that could, one, protect a lot of these kids in these situations who don't have a guardian or somebody that's looking after them, and then also be able to provide necessary resources. Now,
but people would say, and I'm just going to stress this one more time. People would say there's resources out there. People would say there are boys and girls clubs everywhere. People would say there's all these things.
What boys and girls club are there? What do you mean?
What do you mean? People would say there are entities all around. People would say there's the YMCA, the way people can go to, where kids can go to. There's boys and girls clubs where they can have counselors. There's Big Brother programs all around to where if you don't have a guardian, somebody or a mentor, you can get under these programs. People would say there's programs already out there.
Then why are these kids not?
That's the Rubik's Cube that people are trying to put together. Or why it's not following through, and I don't know, because to me. What you sound like to me, you sound like those people that basically like what we need to do. We need to do this, and this, and then somebody will either say, well, what about this program? What about this program? What about this program? What about this program? And somebody it almost sound like, not to say it's apple and oranges, but it almost sound like, do y'all get outraged about black on black crime? The same What about this and this and this and this? Well, there's programs that actually tune to black on black crime and things like that. Basically, we need to settle this. And I'm like, you keep saying that we need to implement this. And I'm like, there's boys and girls programs. There's YMCAs. There's Big Brother programs. There's counselor programs and things like that basically serve these communities. Now, why is it not reaching? Maybe it's the quality. Maybe it's the people that's basically corrupting it. But to say there's no programs or there needs to be better programs, I'd be like, there's a lot of programs for like delinquents out there in the world.
Then why? But
I don't know why it's not connected. I really don't.
Okay.
I honestly don't. And maybe it's to the point where if you don't reach them early enough to, like your point, they don't see it as the cool thing. Cause like I remember when I was taking karate class in the Y and things like that, there was a program in there for youth and things like that. But people rather hang out with their friends than come to the Y and get teaching and things like that and learn all these other things and things of that nature. So there's a lot of influences, to your point, to where if you're around crime or if you're around these people and you want to be with your friends and all of your friends is gang members and if all your friends say let's hang out tonight or things like that, you go want to do what your friends, you go follow the crowd, then stand out and things like that. But I don't know. I will agree with you with this. That's the only way to fix the prison system, is to start early and to make sure people don't go to prison and things like that. Having systems in place to where you kind of stop the pipeline, especially with our people of going there and things like that. And I'm not even worried about our people. Like I said, you got people of all races going to prison. But I think
there's more races.
No, it definitely is. But I'm just saying, like, that's the only way I see you truly reforming is actually starting at an early age before they even get into prison. Because I don't think they're going to have the utopia prison that will actually reformation prison, or like whatever the name that you have for the systems and stuff like that.
I mean, I think I agree, but I think, the ideal situation would be to not have anybody going into prison.
Not have anybody.
That would be ideal. That's how you know society is perfect. If you have people not going to prison because nobody's committing crimes or wild crimes, then you know that, okay, we as a society we're doing our job. We're preventing people at an earlier age to be able to integrate in society regardless of the situation. If you don't have a 2-parent household, if you don't have a great education, if you're not, because we could, hopefully we could agree that the majority of the people who are doing a lot of the murders that they call black on black crime. I'm not sure about white people and Asian people, but black on black crime are coming from these situations.
Okay,
it's not like somebody in middle class or upper class Chicago.
It's abnormal for someone to come from a great background and then to do these crimes. Yes.
So majority of the people who are doing these crimes are coming from a situation where it wasn't that pretty, right? And so if we can't put in place systems for these kids at an earlier age, and who knows, maybe people. I'm not saying people are not doing the work. I'm not saying people are not doing, but I do think as far as like the systems, whether it's like how we treat our orphans, how we treat our abused, molested kids, how we get help to these kids, I don't think it's working to a point where these kids, because you talk to a lot of these kids are lost, and so. I don't know why we stayed on kids so long.
Yeah, kids is crazy.
But I do think because of that, because there's nothing to help a kid that has no other guidance. I do think if a kid is 15, 16-year-old committing crime, or a kid is 18, 19-year-old and but he's been influenced. Now if you 30-year-old.
Okay.
You're 35-year-old. If you're 35-year-old and you haven't committed a crime yet, and you decide to wake up one day
and start committing crime.
Okay, I don't think that's a society thing. I agree. I think that's a choice.
Okay.
But if you're like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
and you're like impressionable,
even up to 25. Cause I remember
25 is kind of crazy. I say 21. But I'll meet you at 25, but I say 21.
Yeah, 21. Even at 21, I remember me being 21 and not being fully mature to the point where I was like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing that. Oh yeah, that's wild. I was driving. I was doing 80. I know this is to y'all, and you're like 85. That's not a crime. I was doing 85 years, in the highway, until one day I was like, where am I going? And why am I so willing to risk my life and somebody else's just to have a little thrill in the car? That's and I think as you mature, if you have people that's in your life to say, hey, this is right, this is wrong, this is why it's right, this is why this is wrong, you're going to be more susceptible to a life of crime.
I think it varies. I really do. I think there's other optics and stuff that plays a part.
No, I agree.
Is there anything else on this topic?
I think that was good enough.
One thing about being molested that I've learned from other people. You probably know a lot of people that have been molested. And that's something that I wasn't hip to as an adult.
And I think it's going to be even more drastic for guys because guys don't talk about it.
Like I think like once people started coming up and they would say like in casual conversation, like, oh yeah, like this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I thought this was just like a once in a blue moon thing, but I'm like, I almost could throw a rock and hit somebody I know who been through that type of foul play. You get what I'm saying? No, I agree. I mean, that's I think
it didn't really hit me until college. Like, I thought it was just a weird situation when I heard it. But it's very common. And then it hit me that it happened to boys until, because even the situation we know about, it was 4 boys and 1 girl. And so I think it happens more for boys than it do for
women.
I don't know if it. I won't say that. I won't say that. But I would say that there's a lot more boys that you or men that who've been abused that just don't talk about it.
And I'm not even talking about like that type of like blurred lines abuse. You know how some people are like, oh, it's really abuse because you didn't ask for consent. No, I'm talking about like abuse.
Okay.
I'm talking about like, wow, like there's no blurred lines here. This was completely wrong. You get what I'm saying? Anything else? Prayers out to those people, man. People that live with that and continue to strive and thrive in that type of foul play that happened to them. Anything else?
I just kind of want to read this real quick.
Go ahead.
So
I'm not really a prison abolitionist.
I want to have one on though. I mean, not a prison abolition, but somebody who knows the prison system.
Yeah.
I want to have this debate again.
So I ain't really cover your views that well, but I do want to read this a little bit. And I'm not sure if this is okay, but yeah, abolitionists advocate for the absence of punitive structures and the development of a society that doesn't use punishment as their primary solution for transgression. It is as much about building systems that support communities as it is about doing away with cages and those that lock them. But the abolitionists of prisons and police are difficult for many people to imagine. And so I think the more, I'm not going, I just don't know their views that well. And I probably should do more research on it. Because you asked a lot of questions. I was like, I don't know.
If you are one and you want to be on the show, hit up my email.
Yeah. We could do that.
Like hit up my email. This is definitely, I like to have topics with some people who are professionals in their field, even somebody who work in the prison or something like that. Hit up my email. Tell me what you see in there. Tell me what's going on in there. Because the only thing I see is basically on documentaries that I look up and things like that, but I don't know what's going on in there. You know what I mean? Anything else?
No.
Y'all be good. Blessings.